Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
I rise, giving all praise to Allah, the Father of the universe, cherisher and sustainer of all the boundless universes. I extend highest of honors to His holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. I extend high honors to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations, Islam. Extending high honors to the Moorish flag, the red flag, with the five-pointed green star in the center. These 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are the 5 highest principles known to man. Islam. Extending honors to the American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag exists as a constant reminder to the European nations, oh, you the Moors, with compound interest. Islam. It's also the flag of our birth. Islam, Moors. Giving honors to noble Sheikh staff, noble Vanguard staff who keep the peace, and giving honors to you, the Ills and Bays, for without you there is no Moorish movement. Islam, Moors. How's everyone in the holy night? Praise Allah. I'd like to extend further honors to our Sheikh Rashid Ibn Halim Bey. You know, having done this a while, you know, I've had a chance to see the development of certain, you know, young masters that come, you know, that have come into Moorish Science Temple of America and have grown and developed and so on and so forth. And after hearing my brother demonstrate, I almost didn't want to come up here tonight and demonstrate. I had a good time over there getting fed, and a brother gave me a good spiritual and national meal. So thank you very much for your demonstration, Sheikh. Gratitude, praise Allah. Tonight, I just want to touch, I'm not going to keep you more as long, I'm going to try to keep it short. You know, like I said, the Sheikh did give a full demonstration. I want to touch on the subject of virtue, all right? Before I do that, I want to tell a small story. Early in the week, you know, sometimes from time to time throughout the week, you know, when we're in barber mode, because it's a barbershop during the day, you know, I have visitors, you know, different Moors come through visiting. I have the honor of seeing Brother Roy come through, you know, a couple times a week, and we chop it up, and we'd be all around the world and the conversations and stuff we talk about. So the other day when he was here, I had a young man that was that had just come back from the neighborhood, had just you know went through basic training in the military. He came home and you know came in to get his haircut. So when he sat down to get his haircut, you know, he told me he wanted it one way, and then when I went to go cut it that way, he said, "Well, that's not what I wanted. I said this." Now, Brother Roy was my witness that that's not what he said, right? And when he realized he wasn't getting the haircut that he wanted, instead of pushing through the emotion and articulating what was wrong with him, he just shut off. Now, at the time, Brother Roy, you know, having been in the military before, was giving him advice. You know, maybe you should, you know, look for this, you know, job description, this and whatever. And young brother was talking back, you know, talking respectfully with him, I should say. And but when things didn't go his way, he just completely, you could almost see like a veil just come over him. I think Brother Roy smiling now. He just completely just shut off. You know, he turned into a European before our eyes. There was just nothing there, right? There was nothing to attach to or nothing. So, you know, I began to, of course, cut it best because there was no way out of the haircut. So I had to finish what I had started. So I engaged in like a little small whisper conversation with the brother. You know what I'm saying? And I said, you know what, man, don't worry about this. This is on me. You know, I couldn't make you pay for something that you don't want. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of it, he got up and he still tried to pay me. I said, that's on me. He was like, all right. And then, you know, as he walked out, he felt a little better. But it was just that was so indicative of the work we have to do. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we can be so bent on our being right, we're not taking in consideration the condition of the people that we're dealing with. And that's something that the Sheikh was driving home. Like, our people are deficient in so many different areas. They don't have time for you trying to sit up on no high camel looking down on them being right. Islam Moors? You know, so I just wanted to share that with you, and, you know, because I was just, you know, I wasn't gonna say it, but the Sheikh inspired me, so I just thought I'd share that with you. So just keep in mind, you know, the lessons that you have from your holy and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and you're dealing with your people. Islam? All right. I want to take a reading from the Holy Quran and the Moorish Science Temple of America, starting with the cover of the Holy Quran and the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, by the guiding of his father God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father God Allah. Islam, Moors? Islam. All right. I'd like to first take a reading from something we very seldom read, but we should. Page 3 in our Holy Quran and the Moorish Science of America, which is the first page, whether it's text, you know, preceding chapter 1. So the one that says, know thyself and thy father God Allah. Let me hear Islam when you're there. All right? So this is, if there was a preamble to the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, this would be it. What is a preamble? What does a preamble do for a document? Sets the stage, the tone, the vibe, right? It says, know thyself and thy Father God Allah. It says the genealogy of Jesus with 18 years of the events, life works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age. These secret lessons are for all those who love Jesus and desire to know about his life, works, and teachings. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. What does Jesus mean? Justice. Islam. They are all those who love for all those who love justice. Islam. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons you can set your house in order and your children will learn to love instead of hate. The lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity. For those taking notes, write that phrase down. The sake of humanity. That's an international law phrase. Okay, the sake of humanity. But for the sake of humanity, as I am a prophet and the servant is worthy of his hire, you can receive this pamphlet at expense. The reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. And when the time appointed by Allah, they loosened the keys and freed the secrets. And for the first time in ages, have these secrets been delivered in the hands of the Muslims of America. All authority and rights of publishing of this pamphlet of 1927. Now, in 1927, who did the Prophet place the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America? What group of people did he put this pamphlet in the hands of in 1927?
Asiatics.
True, but in the Moorish Science Temple of America, who specifically?
She.
Yes, but specifically the adepts.
Yeah.
Key 55 was the name of the first physical man. His name cannot be used except by executive rulers of the AC of the MSTFA, right? All right, so the adepts had it from 1927 to 1928. They had to take it and master it, right? And in 1928, the Prophet gave it to the general membership. Islam, all right? It says, by the Prophet, Noble Drali, the industrious acts of the Muslims of Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hamathites, Canaanites, who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In latter years, they formed themselves kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli, etc., etc. Islam? All right? So as you see, the Prophet says at one point, these were considered secret lessons. All right? So there's much within this pamphlet that is explaining things that the world knew, but we didn't know, right? But there are certain things that the Prophet gave us to straighten out our brothers in the East as well, right? Because he didn't tell us to look to them for salvation. Islam? All right? So, and then he hits that India, Egypt, and Palestine, because each one of them in the ancient times, right before the Moors fell, we entrusted certain secrets to these various different nations. India was the science of the holy breath. Egypt was know thyself, and Palestine was prophecy. You know what I'm saying? The prophetic tradition comes out of Palestine. All right? I'd like to move forward to chapter 39, the Pinnacle of Wisdom. Okay? And the heavy or the weighty teaching inside the chapter 39 of the Pinnacle of Wisdom is the teaching of virtue. Okay? Instruction 1. As the eye of the morning to the lark, as the shade of the evening to the owl, as honey to the bee, or as the carcass to the vulture, even such is life unto the heart of man. Though bright, it dazzleth not. Though obscure, it displeaseth not. Though sweet, it cloyeth not. Though corrupt, it forbiddeth not. Yet who is he that knoweth its true value? Gratitude sheet. Learn to esteem it as it ought. Then art thou near the pinnacle of wisdom. Think not with the fool that nothing is more valuable, nor believe with the pretended wise that thou oughtst to condemn it. Love it not for itself, but for the good it may be of to others. All right? And I like that demonstration about the pretended wise, because much of what you're talking about with that phrase, which I'm not a fan of, conscious community, is the pretended wise.
Yes, sir.
because the wise know how to employ the wisdom, not to abuse people with it. You see what I'm saying? So, if you're doing it for like the sheikh said, for vanity purposes, you just flexing knowledge and stuff like that, you're not wise, you're pretended wise. Islam says, gold cannot buy it for thee, neither mines of diamonds purchase back the moment that has now lost it. Employ the succeeding ones in virtue. Say not that it were best to have not been born, or if born, that it has been best to die early. Neither dare thou to ask of thy Creator, where had been the evil had I not existed. Good is thy power, good, the want of good is evil. And if thy question be just, lo, it condemneth thee. If I had $1 for every time I heard somebody say, man, if I hadn't been born, X, Y, and Z wouldn't have happened. If I hadn't been born, I wouldn't have suffered this. If I hadn't been born, not realizing the fact that your birth was of a divine order. You incarnated to accomplish a task. Islam, but we'll get abortive of mind and, and seek to cancel our own existence. Islam, all right? Moving forward. Would the fish swallow the bait if he knew the hook were hidden therein? Would the lion enter the toils if he saw they were prepared for him? So neither were the soul to perish with this clay, neither would a merciful Father have created him. Hence, no hence, thou shalt live afterwards. Prophet's talking about soul plane at that point. As the bird enclosed in the cage before he seeth it, yet teareth not his flesh against the sides, so neither labor thou vainly to run the state thou art in, but know it is allotted thee and be content with it. And in another section, the prophet says, know that to be content is to be happy. Though its ways are even, yet they are not all painful. Accommodate thyself to all, and where there is the least appearance of evil, suspect the greatest danger. So the prophet is giving you rules. Okay, we're on the carnal plane. There's rules down here. Okay, that's a rule here. Where there is the least appearance of evil, suspect the greatest danger. When thy bed is straw, thou sleepest in security. But when thou stretch thyself on roses, beware of the thorns. A good death is better than an evil life. Strive therefore to live as long as thou oughtest, not as long as thou canst. While thy life is to others worth more than thy death, it is thy duty to preserve it, right? So if your life means something to people, don't put yourself in unnecessary harm's way. That's a responsibility you have as a leader. Islam? So in other words, like, if you're a leader that has security, let's say, and I don't need no security. You just run out in front of the people. You're putting yourself and the mission, because it's not really about you. It's about the voice. It's about the message that you carry, right? So you have a propensity to damage the movement by your actions. Does that make sense? Like, I was watching a documentary on the Secret Service, and they say they can't stand when presidents do that, when they just go out and be shaking hands with the people. And they're like right here to the people. They can't, like, if somebody was to have a knife, we really can't protect against that until it's after the fact. Like, if he gets stabbed or something like that, we can get him to the hospital, we can wrap old boy up, but it's going to happen. You know what I mean? But presidents, because of popularity and vanity, they put themselves in harm's way. You see? All right, moving forward, instruction 12, complain not with the fool of the shortness of thy time. Remember, with thy days the cares are shortened. Now check this out, this was always deep to me. Take from thy period of thy life the useless part of it, and what remaineth it. Take off the time of thy infancy, the second infancy of thy age, so that's the feeble years, if that should happen to you when you get older, right? The second infancy of thy age, thy sleep, the thoughtless hours, the days of sickness, and even at the fullness of years, how few seasons hast thou truly numbered? So how short is your life if you subtract all of those things? You understand what I'm saying? And if you realize what that is, each second would mean something to you, and you'd learn to be happy instead of miserable. That's now. But for some reason, we have these deaths in our family, and then everybody acts surprised. But everybody knows that you're not going to be down here forever, but we delude ourselves into thinking that we are in these forms anyway. All right? Moving forward, it says, Islam, Brother Akil, yeah.
Islam. That also, I guess, kind of warrants me or spurs me to want to utilize my sleep as well, so that I can be working on at maximum capacity with all that I have. So I always try to go to sleep with something on my mind, because I know that in my sleep I can have my unconscious trying to solve that problem, that issue.
Right. And that's something, that's really, your subconscious mind is really like autopilot.
Yeah.
That's not really something you have to try to do. It's going to do. But the best thing you do in your waking hours is try to limit the amount of folly that you keep in your conscious mind, because you don't want it to work on that. You don't want, because it's going to work regardless. And it doesn't, the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between, like if you accept it as real, it'll take it on, So, just be careful what you allow into your mind. Islam wars? Moving forward. It says, instruction 16, to what end would longer life have served thee? Part 15, he who gave thee life as a blessing shortened it to make it more so. To what end would longer life have served thee? Wishest thou to have had an opportunity of more vices? As to the good, will not he who limited thy span be satisfied with the fruits of it? To what end, O child of sorrow? No, he's talking to your physical being. O child of sorrow. Wouldst thou live longer? To breathe, to eat, to see the world? All this thou hast done often already. Too frequent repetition, is it not tiresome? Or is it not superfluous? Wouldst thou improve thy wisdom and thy virtue? Alas, what art thou to know? Or who is it that shall teach thee? Badly thou employest the little thou hast. Dare not therefore to complain that the more is not given thee. Repine, which means to complain. Repine not at the want of knowledge. It must perish within the grave. Be honest here, and thou shalt be wiser hereafter. Say not the crow, why numberest thou 7 times, thy Lord? Or to the fawn, why are thine eyes to see my offspring 100 generations? Are these to be compared with thee in the abuse of life? Are they riotous? Are they cruel? Are they ungrateful? Learn from them, rather, that innocence of manners are the paths of good old age. Must always be mannerable, right? That's a sign of distinction and chivalry. The fact that you demonstrate, good hospitality, good manners, and so on and so forth. I give honors, I extend honors to our brothers and sisters from the Nation of Islam, because it's always yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. They kept that. You know what I mean? At a certain point, I don't know where the Moorish Americans fell away from that, but it's in our record, right? So we have to get back on that demonstration. All right. Islam, sir. It says, moving forward, 22, knowest thou to employ life better than these? Then less of it may suffice thee. Man who dares enslave the world when he knows he can enjoy his tyranny but for a moment, what would he not aim at if he were immortal? Right, and it gives the degree of tyranny, right? And that's when, that helps us in our Sunday schools. We're demonstrating Constitution and Declaration of Independence, all that. We dealt with that on Sunday about the 17 abuses that's mentioned in the Declaration of Independence. So tyranny, right? And the prophet is addressing that here. 24, enough hath thou of life, but thou regardest it not. Thou art not in want of it. O man, but thou art prodigal. What does the word prodigal mean? Wasteful. Islam, right? You're wasteful. Thou throwest it lightly away as if thou had more than enough, and yet thou repinest or complain that it is not gathered again unto thee. Know that it is not abundance which maketh rich, but economy. All right? The wise continueth to live from his first period. The fool is always beginning. Labor not after riches first, and think thou would afterwards enjoy them. He who neglecteth the present moment throweth away all that he hath, as the arrow passeth through the heart, while the warrior knew not that it was coming. So shall his life be taken away before he knoweth that he hath it. What then is life that man should desire it? What breathing that he should covet it? Is it not a scene of delusions, a series of misadventures, a pursuit of evils linked on all sides together? In the beginning, it is ignorance. Pain is in its middle, and its end is sorrow. As one wave pusheth on another, till both are involved in that behind them, even so succeedeth evil to evil in the life of man. The greater in the present swallow up the lesser in the past. Our terrors are real evils. Our expectations look forward into impossibilities. This is addressing the carnal self, right? So that's the position our people are in. When you ask them about their conditions, their complaint, they repine that Our terrors are real evils. Our expectations look forward into impossibilities. How many people have had dreams of things they wanted to do, but they stifled it because they didn't have the support? All right? It says, fools to dread as mortals and to desire as if immortal. What part of life is it that we should wish to remain with us? Is it youth? Can we be in love with outrage, licentiousness, which is being lustful, and temerity, which is outrageous? Is it age? Then we are fond of infirmities. It is said, gray hairs are revered, and length of days in honor. Virtue can add reverence to the bloom of youth, and without it, age plants more wrinkles in the soul than on the forehead. Is age respected because it hateth riot? What justice is in this, when it is not age that despiseth pleasure, but pleasure that despiseth age? Be virtuous while thou art young, so shalt thine age be honored. Islam Morris? So virtue is a very high thing in the Moorish Science Temple of America and in Moorish American culture, you know. And the Prophet puts this in a chapter entitled The Pinnacle of Wisdom. So if you're demonstrating wisdom, the pinnacle is the very top part of something, right? So if you were to ascend to the pinnacle of wisdom, you'd be demonstrating virtue, right? And how many people do you know that consider themselves wise but don't live virtuous lives? You see what I'm saying? And this is what the Prophet wanted for us, why he used the terminology clean and pure nation. Islam? Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I just wanted to demonstrate something really quick. Moorish literature. The article entitled Divine Warning by the Prophet for the Nations. And I'm not reading the whole thing because it's quite lengthy. We dealt with that on Sunday as well. Just want to touch on a point. And towards the end, where it says, so I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud. Okay? So it says, so I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. Hold on, let me see, make sure I'm in the right part. Part stuff, let me go back. Go up the preceding paragraph where it says, and I, the prophet. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of men that have never done them any good but have always harmed them, right? When a lot of times when people read that, they think the prophet's speaking about people outside of the Moorish Science Temple of America, in the broader American society. The prophet's talking about the Moorish Americans that are being groomed in the temples. Islam Morris? And he referred to you as, right? He says, this administration of the government, right? Referred to as a government, being more wisely prepared, he says, by more genius citizens. Right? Why does he call you genius citizens? He'll call you genius citizens because the principles of Constitution, you know, as we go into it each week, you begin to learn, you know, various different virtues and principles that exist in, you know, in ancient times that the European founding fathers was just trying to enshrine within a document for this government here, right? But it is the Moorish Americans that go in because we have our lessons from ancient times. We're able to look in Constitution. We're able to look in the Articles of Confederation. We're able to look in the Declaration of Independence and see, you know, remedy for us, for our situation. Even though the European wrote that with the intention of freeing himself from the tyranny of the British Crown, right? The intention was so sincere because it was guided by Moors. The intention was so sincere that it could be utilized at any point in human history. Like it says in the Declaration of Independence, when in the course of human events. Just know that's not measured up by time. Yeah. At any point that humanity needed to free themselves from tyranny and bring power back in the hands of the people, they could use or invoke those same documents, right? Throughout the week, I've been sharing different videos with, Brother Acton Sheikh, Raphael Hakeem Bey. One of the movies is entitled type this in a YouTube search. It's called A More Perfect Union. It's a movie, it's free, it's on YouTube. It's like an hour and a half, and you get a chance to see them coming from out of the Ark of Confederation in council to actually, draft the Constitution of the United States of America, 1789. And you see, it wasn't just like they got in and just agreed. It was some arguments. Some guys got frustrated, guys storming out the room and all kind of stuff. You get a chance to see all the things that took place in that. What you see in that moment is us in this country right now, right? We don't all agree. We got a different way about it. Let our topic come up like 2020 census. How many answers you'll get about what we should put and define ourselves as? You see what I'm saying? But this should be done like those things, those meetings where, the Europeans had, to write the Constitution. Those were secret meetings, right? They weren't out on Front Street in front of everybody because number one, that could have got their head taken off. You could have been beheaded in those days for talking that type of stuff. But it was secret because by the time you reveal it, you want it to be together. You know what I'm saying? You don't bring out a slopped up plan to the people. You know what I mean? Because they're automatically going to reject it. It doesn't even sound right. You see? And when we get and debate our stuff in real time in front of people who don't necessarily share the body of knowledge that we're accustomed to, it sounds crazy and disunified, right? So we should get in closed council. That's why we have Key 55 and our 101s where we can go in chamber and deal with that, right? So when we come out, we're on the same page, right? You're not going to see Mexicans out of sync with one another, right? Because they'll get behind closed doors. They deal with their disputes behind closed doors. And when they come out, they're one people, right? With one political agenda. So, this is where we're at now as a people. And the prophet and what he gave us should produce a genius class of citizens, male and female, right? Because your conversation, just think about the people that you work with, right? And this is rhetorical. What are they talking about? And then how often do you listen to what they're talking about? It's like, not necessarily judging, but it's like, oh, man. And you might throw out a thought to like try to raise it a little bit and they just automatically reject it because it sounds foreign, but it takes time, Morris, because again, we weren't born under these principles. So it took time with us. You know what I mean? What you do is Allah and the prophet, the prophet, Noble Drew Ali and all the other prophets that have passed are working their degrees for the soul plane. You know what I mean? Like to the point where I had a bunch of people inbox me this week. There was a video with T.I. at the slave dungeons. How many people saw that?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
You know what I mean? How many people thought it was interesting that, because how many people have seen video of people at the slave dungeons before? And what kind of narrative did they get? It's just the usual slave narrative. Oh, they came and grabbed the slaves and the Portuguese came and da. But the brothers, he's, breaking out 1492. T.I. even hit the Christianity point. You know what I'm saying? 1492 is more relevant because the Moors, to even put that together standing at the slave dungeon at the coast on the shores of northwest and southwestern shores of Africa is even more relevant. You know what I'm saying? So you can expect for the day and time for the ones that our people consider to be notables. Our people look at rappers as leaders. But, you can expect the day and time where don't be surprised if a T.I. come in here and sit down. Don't be surprised at that. You know what I'm saying? Let me hit this too. The Sheikh hit the concept of meets and bounds earlier. Let me read y'all something. I'm glad there are no sovereign citizens present because me pulling this Black's Law Dictionary out, no, it's just another dictionary, indeed, right? Oh, he got Black's Law, he about to demonstrate. It's just a definition, indeed. Meets and bounds is in here. So meets and bounds, it says, in conveyancing the boundary lines of lands with their terminating points or angles, meaning that when the prophet Jesus was demonstrating that heaven is not a place of meets and bounds, what he was saying was it wasn't a place that can be measured. Yeah. He's not saying that, there's not an expanse that contains, it's not that. But, you'll have people that'll say, like example, like in chapter 3 in your Holy Quran, when Elihu was teaching the people, where was he teaching them at? Say again? Right. Chapter 3. Go to chapter 3. It's like in the first couple of instructions. Chapter 3.
It was Jesus teaching about his story.
Right. I'm talking about Elihu, who was one of Jesus' teachers. Chapter 3. Whoever gets it, just read me the first couple of instructions.
Again,
Islam, you recognize?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Merciful.
Instruction 1. Again, Elihu met his pupils in the sacred grove and said...
Islam. You can stop there, Mo. right? So he met them in the sacred grove. What is a sacred grove?
Sacred grove this is a sacred grove.
Right, but in that day, what was a sacred grove in that day?
It was like I want to say like a divine meeting spot, but
Yes.
it was more of a
Let me do this. Was it indoor or outdoor?
typically it was. I want to say it was outdoor.
It was outdoor. Write down the word ashram. A-S-H-R-A-M. A-S-H-R-A-M. And then after ashram, write ashira, which is A-S-H-E-R-A-H. Right? And an ashram is when is a place where it's outdoors, considered a sacred garden or a sacred forest, or it's used in places around trees. Like example, say where did Buddha find enlightenment at? Sitting at what kind of tree? A Bodhi tree, B-O-D-H-I, the Bodhi tree. Prophet Muhammad, when he was made the ascension into paradise, he passed a certain spring, and there was what they call the Lot tree, L-O-T-E tree. You always get these spaces where considered sacred, and these ones would gather and study around these sacred spaces, but they were always outside, and there was never a place of meets and bounds. So in other words, it wasn't like they said, well, we have to do it in this building, in a particular building, and the building has to look this way, whatever. Like example, Jesus stood in front of the temple at Jerusalem. He said a day and time will come when not one stone will remain standing at this building, right? He said, but destroy this temple and I'll resurrect it in 3 days. Islam? So he's demonstrating the Greek. So the point is that, remember, Moors, the holy place is where the holy people are. That's outside, that's in a barbershop, that's on a street corner, you see what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of places, like there are some colleges, whatever, where people are paying a lot of money for tuition that they're going to owe for the rest of their lives. They're not learning half of the things y'all learn here. Half. They'll graduate with a degree, and you ask them what's their nationality. I'm a black man. He'll go to the university and learn nothing about the father of the universe.
So fortunate.
Islam? You understand what I'm saying? So we have to take full advantage of where our prophet is instructing us, wherever he's instructing us. I just say praise Allah to the fact that we have a place to gather. I have a place to come and meet y'all every week. You know what I'm saying? Where you can unplug from your week, and we get the chance to ascend to a higher thought plane to deal with that, and then come back down and deal out here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm honored that I have a place to meet y'all every week. You know what I'm saying? I was asked a question. Remember you asked me the question last week? He said, well, we always meet here. No, we won't always meet here. We might meet in a park one week. You know what I'm saying? Let's crank that up, maybe springtime. Like a Sunday school, we'll just go out and meet in the park. You know what I'm saying? And the same lessons we go over in here, we can go out in the park. And the fact that we meet in the park doesn't alter the lesson any. You understand what I'm saying? Right? Or we can meet in a multi-million-dollar building. Does it alter the lesson? Does it affect the quality of what's being conveyed? You understand what I'm saying? So, let us not, and that's the lesson what Jesus is giving about heaven is not a place of meets and bounds. That's that demonstration. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not a place that can be, measured up by time or space or any of those type of things. It transcends that. That's why it says, we ascend to our Father God Allah. Because we have to raise our thoughts. Islam, Morris? Islam? And Morris, that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, or statements? Islam, Brother Jalil Omawali Bey. Islam, Morris. You got to say the whole name, or you just can't just say Brother Jalil. It doesn't have the same effect. It hit you when I said the whole name, didn't it, Brother Roy? Brother Jalil Omawali Bey. Islam, Morris.
Just quick, with the whole Trump
impeachment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How should we as Moorish Americans look upon that? Being citizens, part of the state.
Well, have you researched in the Constitution where it describes impeachment? So I would make that a homework assignment for yourself, so that way you'll know what the process really is. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people thinking that, just because he gets impeached, that he gets removed from office. It's not necessarily true. Clinton was impeached, and he finished his term. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, the biggest thing is with it is that they just take and just embarrass you. You know what I'm saying? Like every email, every whatever. But the interesting part about number 45, and I'm gonna do this being respectful because I'm standing between the flags, is the fact that he doesn't care whether you attempt to embarrass him or not. That's not his, he doesn't care. Like he comes from a world where there's no such thing as bad press. You understand what I'm saying? And he's not wrong, unfortunately, you know, because all that's gonna happen is this is like a huge commercial for his next run. Because what it's doing is keeping his name alive. I was in Kroger the other day and I'm walking. We gotta open the grocery store. I'm tired of going to Kroger. I'm walking and I walk past a group of young brothers, man. The oldest one of them couldn't have been more than like 23. And they worked at Kroger and they were just sitting there, you know, in a little cipher talking about Trump and impeachment and Constitution. And I was like, praise Allah that these young brothers are discussing government. You know, so it's having a reverse action to the point where it's gaining the political process of this right here is making people talk politics that usually normally wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? So in that, sometimes you have to be able to see the Allah in all things. But in terms of, you know, will he win again? It depends on if the citizens do what they're supposed to. I mean, we are citizens, are we? You know what I'm saying? So we have to do our part in that respect. You know, it's a little trying with the Electoral College and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, there's more work that can be done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I usually hear people, you know, have that argument with the federal electoral process. But if we don't want the Electoral College in there, you know, we could rally or lobby for a constitutional convention and change that. You know, there hasn't been one since the 27th Amendment's been passed. But that's how amendments are added. That's how the Constitution's changed. But if we want to alter the Constitution, it's up to we the people to get together and lobby to make that happen. But until such time, we would just end up complaining about the things that go on. You know, and quite frankly, you know, I think that's a weak thing to do. You know what I'm saying? For free men and women take control of their destiny. So a republic is a powerful thing to be in, especially when you have a religious teaching that says you are the Lord of the plane of the manifest. You know what I mean? That means you have to take control of your destiny. Now, in a republic, you can do that. You can't do that in a monarchy. You know what I'm saying? Because you're a subject of the will of the king.
Islam. Again, I ride.
Real quick, did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but research that impeachment in the Constitution. Yes.
I ride, giving honors and praise where they may be due.
Islam.
When you say that, I think about we take a page out of the book of the other foreign nationals, so the Chinese, the Mexican. They don't. It doesn't matter what happens on a grand scale. What happens in government? They're still going to do what they need to do to perpetuate their progeny. And so. But
that doesn't discount the fact that they do involve themselves in the process.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like, but so.
I was just saying that to the point where we need to speak more about unity first, and then.
Absolutely, and that's unity amongst all Asiatics. You know what I mean? Like, which was interesting. Like, in the Democratic debate the other night when Andrew Yang was up speaking, the Chinese guy, he was the only Asiatic up there. There's a bunch of Europeans, the only Asiatic, and the moderator pointed it out. How does it feel to be they put him under to be the only person of color? That's the term they used up here. You know, and he spun and made a joke and kept going. But you know, that's the whole thing. Like, the moderator didn't stop to say they'd be the only Chinese man up there. You know what I mean? He basically classified him as Asiatic. You know what I mean? Exactly. So we have to find a way to organize under Chapter 25 all of our kindred. You know what I'm saying? And it's a weighty task, but some of us are a little more skilled than others. We have a Sheikh brother Ranesi-El, and he up in where's he at, Mar? Norfolk, Virginia? I believe it's Norfolk, Virginia. He's on him on Islam, more? We Facebook Live right now. Praise Allah. I'll give you some shout outs, more. He did a post the other day where he was speaking in Spanish. The whole thing was just Spanish. I didn't know the Moors fluent like that, you know? And somebody asked him a question, well, when you gonna teach Spanish classes? Well, when you're ready, you know? So some of us are more capable than others. So a brother with a skill set like that can go to a Spanish speaking demographic, you know, and teach them what the Prophet said in Spanish. You see what I'm saying? So whatever Allah has blessed you to do and to be able to demonstrate and so on and so forth, you have to bring that to the movement. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, that's the thing. If you're around, you know, real estate entrepreneurs, so on and so forth, whatever, you be the prophet there, right? And you get them to see, like in the time of the prophet, man, the prophet had bankers and politicians and, you know, and meeting in Unity Hall, which was a political hub for a bunch of different groups. You understand what I'm saying? You know, the Elks, the, you know, Prince Hall Masons, all of them met there, right? And in the Moorish God, it talked about, you know, utilizing that as basically like, you know, a grand, I'll say grand temple, right, just to keep it general, a grand temple where all these masters could come together for a political end. You know, and that was also how the Prophet was able to galvanize thousands of people for a particular political platform. It wasn't like they was taking out, you know, nationality cards more Science Temple of America because they knew we wasn't like the more said earlier, set tripping. Oh, you got to be this or you got to be that. If you know, you got this particular affiliation, you can be that, but just this the platform that we're working towards. You see what I'm saying? Now, if you can stand on this platform, we can stand on it together. Then we have unity, right? But if we're not talking about politics and economics, stuff like that, we ain't really talking about nothing, right? Because those are the things, especially locally, those are the things that affect the change where we can see that's tangible for us daily. You understand what I'm saying? So, yes, the federal argument is one argument, but when you read Constitution, of the first 3 articles, which one's the longest and most detailed? First 3, so Article 1, Article 2, Article 3. So Article 1's legislative, Article 2 is executive, and Article 3 is judicial. Of the 3, which is the longest and most detailed? Basically, who has the most power in the 3? The legislative. Most people would say executive, right? But in the mentality of the European founding fathers, their thing was they didn't want to create another king. So they were arguing against that, like, nah, you know, because the whole thing was, should we call him Your Excellency, or should we call him, you know, they call him forms of address, and they just, you know, got to the point, nah, we just call him Mr. President. We ain't doing all. You see what I'm saying? Because we don't want to create that mentality of like a king. You know what I'm saying? Because they just came from under that, right? So, you know, but again, you know, it just boils down to the citizens doing their duty. You know, first of all, is our job with our people is getting them out of a disenfranchised mind to make them realize that they are citizens. Right? And time never was when they weren't citizens, right? But they were put in a position to be able to ignore that and think that they was Negroes, blacks, and coloreds. And the devolved mentality, and our people started acting that out, right? But technically, you never stopped. There was times in the 1700s when our people was voting. You know what I'm saying? These cases exist. So now, how does that fit within the paradigm of everything else that they've taught relative to slavery and all that? Because we're not going to hear none of that in a couple months with Black History Month. They're not going to talk about that. They're not going to talk about when you was, air quotes, I had to air quote it, right? They're not going to tell you about when you had power in the 1700s. It's like, you know, they're not going to talk about how, I bring up the example all the time, Benjamin Banneker and Thomas Jefferson debating as equals, right? And he was never a slave. They're not going to talk about that. You have to tell that story. We have to show our people these things. And more importantly, we have to show them the world. Not just point the way a block of wood could do the same, right? But actually tread the way and show them how to organize as a body politic and get some things popping, right? Real quick, before I read the Divine Warning, I was reading in, for those who don't have the Mukarbin files authored by Sheikh R. Edwards-El and our former ascendant master, Sheikh James Barnes Bay, may Allah be pleased with his soul. Please order the book. Just contact Sheikh R. Edwards-El, on Facebook. He will let you know the pricing and all of that. And for me, in my general opinion, which offers no proof of truth, it is the best and most clearly concise and documented book on Moorish American history, bar none. Definitely. Right? I was reading it earlier, and it showed when the Prophet set aside Temple number 11 in Philadelphia. Said he went there, he demonstrated, and the Grand Sheikh that he appointed was Brother T. Thompson Hill, and they showed how, once the Prophet gave his lecture and it was people received it very well. People pledged, he was asking people, would you pledge to put aside, and this is 1928 money, men $10 and women $5. And this was in that day because of disparity in what we were making. But to put aside monies to set aside not only the temple, but also a business to go with the temple, right? So budgets to establish the treasury to start the business. And then what happened was that, there's a documentary on YouTube. If you just type in, you know how to find that video more? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, type in Temple 11 Philadelphia history or something like that. And there's like a 20-minute video from Temple 11, and they're giving their history. And you'd be able to check, in there, there's some clips of like the temples in the 30s and stuff, and you can see all the business stuff they had going, And you had to think of people was wanting to join the temple just to understand the business model, how they were growing so fast. You see? So we come out of this in our history. So, coming away from that, this unity and going back to what the Prophet said, the uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America, we have to go back to what's already been done and replicate it. Islam?
Islam.
You know, so I just wanted to share that with you all. Any other questions? Islam, sister. Name of the Mukarrabin was M-U. Oh, yes. Okay. Brother said, hold up now, hold up. Let me know when you're ready. Shit, you might have to hold that up for me, Mo. M-U, that's a long word, Mo. M-U-Q-A-R-A-B-E-E-N, correct? 2 R's. M-U, say it, read it out to him, Mo.
M-U-Q-A-R-R.
Okay, you go.
A-B-E-E-N.
Thank you, Sheikh. Islam. That book can keep you, when you first get it, you're not gonna go to sleep for 3 days.
I bear witness.
Because you're gonna try to read everything the first 3 nights, and it's impossible, you know.
Who it's about?
Sheikh R. Period Edwards El. And you can reach him on Facebook. I can give you his telephone number. He's one of my elders.
Do you have any insights as to why they named it Mukarrabin, where they got that name from?
Yes, Qarabin in Arabic is the word cherubim. Cherubim. Mukarrabin are those, you know, basically those who are cherubim. The cherubim was, if you look at, you ever seen the Ark of the Covenant before? You ever seen Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember that box, the gold box they were carrying?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the Ark of the Covenant. On the top of it, you see those 2 angels on the top with the wings like this? Those are called cherubim.
Yeah.
Cherubim, if you go to Genesis chapter 3, verse 24, right? It says they placed the cherubim, and at the gates. Once Adam and Eve were cast out, they placed the cherubim at the gates of the garden, and with a flaming sword faced in every direction, to guard the entryways into the garden, so that those who were not supposed to be in there wouldn't be in there, and those are the Mukarrabin, the cherubim. Any other questions? Right, Islam? Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali founded home office, Chicago, Illinois, March 11th, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam? Islam? All praise is due to Allah, the highest of honors, to his holy and divine and illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Moors? Really quick, on the live, Mo, do we have any questions on live that we can entertain while we're in real time? I always forget the audience when we go live. No, all is well? All right, Islam. Praise Allah. Thank you, everybody out there in Facebook world who was checking us out tonight. Thank you all here in the real world, the real world in the Matrix, right? Don't even get me started on that. And there's a part 4 is coming out.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be crazy. But let's just be thankful more, for our prophet, what he brought us. Right now, more it's crunch time. I want this Prophet's Day celebration to be spectacular. You know what I mean? Because again, like we demonstrated on Sunday schools, like you look when the Chinese do their New Year. You've seen this? Is Chinese New Year anything to play with? They got fireworks and dragons and chuckles flipping and doing all kinds of, you know what I'm saying? Because, this is what their culture means to them. You know what I mean? Part of shaking off Negro, black, and colored is, not taking full advantage of that which is brought to you culturally. You know what I mean? Not being celebratory of the things that we should celebrate, right? The fact of the one that came to us to bring us all the things that he brought us, you'd have to ask, if he didn't come, what would you have? Right? And if that's the case, you should be extremely grateful, and we should be extremely grateful and do it and call people to it, and just to show them just how much we love our prophet. You know what I'm saying? And Noble Drew Ali, make no mistake, Noble Drew Ali is the man, period. And you very seldom do you hear me get behind this rostrum and demonstrate absolutism, right? But I've studied a lot of stuff, right? I've been on this path since I was 14. And there's nothing that I've seen that can touch Noble Drew Ali. As far as the raising of our people as a nation, I haven't seen it. If you know what it is, bring it to me, and let's reason together. But as of right now, at the age of 47, I haven't seen it. Being in this movement 18 years, I have not seen it. Right? This is a powerful movement, but like I tried to express to people, give the prophet a chance. You know what I'm saying? Even where, I use the analogy of, think about when you first proclaim your nationality. Right? Think about that date. You should have that date in your mind. Right? Technically, in Moorish years, that's your birthday, right? So technically, from that point that you proclaim your nationality, technically, spiritually, that's how old you are in a Moorish American mindset. See what I'm saying? So when I say give the prophet a chance, there are going to be things that come down that you don't understand, right? Kind of like when we grew up with our parents, you want to touch that stove because it looks cool. There's a light on inside of you. No, I don't want to touch it, no. Mama turn her back, you run over. Now you see what mommy was talking about. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing, it sounded cool when people was like, you could get a $400,000 house and not pay for it. You just write up something and put it in the window and all is well. And then it worked for a minute, you know what I'm saying? Because the owners live in California. They don't know, right? Until, somebody, the neighbors say, it's some people with these funny looking hats. They be in and out the house. Are you renting to them? No, the house is vacant. No, it's not. And they come and then they go to the sheriff's office. And so I want these people booted out. And they come in like full SWAT gear and all that because the mentality that they deal with relative to the sovereign citizen, because they got that movement for the Europeans, it was a violent movement over there, right? So they don't know if the Asiatics would, given our history in this country, they know if we picked up that violence, so now they come strong, right? And and they don't care. I've seen sisters get thrown on the ground, it's ugly. Right? So what I'm saying is, like, when I say give the prophet, Noble Drew Ali, a chance, he gonna tell you no to a lot of things that you heard and you thought was right and sounded good, but you wanted to try. And you bring it up. It's my job as Grand Sheik to say no more. That's not what the prophet brought. Right? As a young one, when I first joined the movement, couldn't stand when the elders used to say that. The prophet didn't bring that. We used to have a running joke when the elders would say, they'd be like, well, the prophet didn't bring air either, but we breathe it. That type of stuff. Young, ignorant Moorish American, you know what I'm saying? But you're young. But then the older I get, I started becoming a fundamentalist, right? I'm gonna bear out some sins here. I was one of the ones to be like, well, why can't we change the color of the Quran? Let's change the color. There's some Qurans floating around this room right now. We gotta get rid of them things, because that's an indictment against me.
Oh no!
Man, it's my fault. It's not yours, right? But because there's no law to say you can't change it, right? But Moorish elders always say, be careful of changing anything the prophet brought. Whatever he brought for a reason, right? We call these landmarks, right? The ancient world, it was considered, a high crime to change ancient landmarks, right? So when we change anything the prophet brought, we're changing landmarks. You change the nationality card, you change the landmark, right? You put jewels and stuff on your fez, you change the landmark. You wear your turban with no crescent pin, you change the landmark. Islam, everything he brought us was to make us distinctive as a nation of people, right? And when we alter that, right? Real quick, even in the Declaration of Independence, it uses a powerful phrase that says, governments long established should not be changed for light and transient reasons. Let me say that again. Governments long established should not be changed for light and transient reasons. The Moorish Science Temple of America has been long established. So for us to come in yesterday and want to change everything today, that's light and transient. There's a lot more. So let's give the prophet a chance to see why. Our Grand Sheik, our brother Daweed Ali, makes a statement, all the time. He says, if you haven't been a part of the Moorish Science Temple of America for at least about 5 years, you don't have the right to critique nothing. Sit down and learn. Sit down and observe. And then that'll give you a more foundation for your why. You know what I'm saying? The word why, the question why is asked 3 times in your questionnaire. Why ain't no plaything to be messing around with. But you gotta know why you're asking why. Islam Morris? All right? Yes, Sister Shantae. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Because I've messed names. Is it Shantea or Shantia?
Shantae.
Shantea, thank you. Sister Shantea, Islam.
Said government's long-standing should not be changed for transient.
Governments long established should not be changed for light and transient. Right? Transient is like it moves from place to place, to and fro on the earth. Right? Because long established demonstrates that which is firm, while we press and don't shake. Because the press is, something that's firm and long established. You know what I'm saying? Islam.
So that's why the language that's in the Holy Quran is the way it is.
Long established.
Because that's what the Prophet wrote.
It's the ancient world. Every scripture that was ever revealed was written in the classical tongue of that time. We're dealing with English now. He wrote it in the classical tongue. And in that classical tongue are virtues, principles, and so on and so forth that was given to the Europeans by our forefathers. Right? So for all the thou art, that type of that Shakespearean, what they call Shakespearean, or they attribute to Shakespeare, actually something that when our forefathers gave, our forefathers gave English to the Englishmen. You knew that, right? Did y'all know this? So who are the English really? What are their tribes? There's two tribes they come from. Anglos and Saxons. In Hannibal's time, your forefather Hannibal, right? Which goes back around like 230 BC. So like go back 2,000 years and then 200 years before that, right? He had the first multinational army force, mercenary force. When he went to, the Isles of Albion, what they call the United Kingdom today, the Anglos and the Saxons, they were naked. They would fight wars naked. They wouldn't wear clothes, stuff like that. Yeah, that's wild. But anyway, he brought them in and let them fight naked because they tried to put clothes on them and it impeded their fighting style. So he's like, do your thing. You know what I'm saying? But in our civilizing of them, we gave them a systematized language that was basically a codification that entailed all the different cultures in it. So in English, you ever study etymology in English? So you look up any particular word and you go down to the etymological part in the brackets, and they say from the GK Greek, right? And they give the word. Or I say from the, I don't know the abbreviation for Sanskrit, but from the Sanskrit, or from the AR Arabic, or from the FR French. You see what I'm saying? So if you study English, you have bits and pieces of all the different ancient classical tongues in this one language. So it was a way to teach them, kind of at an accelerated pace, all the different tongues in one language. They didn't come up with that. To the point where the language had to evolve, we allowed them to evolve it. So when you read Constitution, you see like especially Articles of Federation, where it'll say the word choose, like to choose something, and it spells it CHUSE. That was the way you spelled that then, right? But as the language got more sophisticated, so they altered the spellings of things because it's still evolving. Islam? When I was growing up, the word blog was not a word. Didn't exist, right? But it's a word now. It's a thing. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, we gave that because, we just believe our forefathers, Moorish forefathers, we believe that anybody on the planet needed a divine creed and nationality. You know what I'm saying? So anybody didn't have one, we worked to get them one. Because we weren't operating from hate, Morris. And even now, even all we've been through, y'all still ain't as hateful as you think you are. You're not that hateful, Morris. You Mr. so-called, excuse the language on the holy day, you Mr. Black Power, right? And an old European lady's walking up with a humpback and she bent over, she's shaking, and you go through the door and you see her. Go ahead, man. You'll open the door and let her go because that's the divine in you, right? And what I tell people all the time, don't allow our dealings with the Europeans to cause you to become a savage yourself, right? If your spirit said, hold that door, you did. That don't make you lesser because you did that. Islam? Who remembers, real quick, and just say this and we'll close it. Remember Marlboro cigarettes? Who remembers the Marlboro man? Y'all remember him? Cowboy, you remember? Yeah, y'all young. There was these big, I'm telling my age, right? You remember. It's like, we're in this together. I'm talking to you. Remember the big billboards? And he had the cowboy hat on and the ropings, Marlboro man, stuff like that. Or even like John Wayne and all them or whatever. And come to find out these dudes ain't as macho as they appeared. They was on something, you know what I'm saying? But the point is that, right. But the point is that, this bravado that we're putting on is, European machismo. It has nothing to do with us. You see what I'm saying? Because you being a man don't have nothing to do with how muscular you are, how tall you are, how athletic you are. Nothing. It has to do with wisdom, will, and love.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's and the same thing with being a woman. If you demonstrate wisdom, will, and love, you are a man and you're a woman.
Yes, sir.
According to your specific genders, because gender is one of the 7 Hermetic principles. not to be altered, not measured up by time. No matter what gender is, you can't mess with it. So ones that come in and try to alter that, they're seeking to tamper with what they call immutable law, that which is unchangeable. Thousands of years our forefathers established and understood. Islam. But I love y'all, Moors. Islam. And Moors, I have high expectations for y'all on the Prophet's birthday. I want y'all coming in cleaner than the Board of Health. Prophet says, Moors, look your best. I expect y'all to see, and you ain't coming in with no cape. Brother been trying to get a cape out me for years. Not even years. It felt like years. You ain't even been here that long. But
What about a cloak?
not even a cloak, brother. Not even close. Or how about this? After we close the prayer, you give me the degree on the cape of the cloak, and then perhaps. Okay, we're gonna see. Everybody please rise.
On camera.
We're closed with prayer. Now we ain't gonna do it on camera. We want to embarrass them all now. Please hold your feet at a 45-degree angle, standing on your square. Raise 5 on the left, 2 on the right, invoke the sacred presence of 7 Elohim that created everything that ever was, is, and evermore to be. Please repeat after me. Allah,
Allah,
the Father of the universe,
Father of the universe,
the Father of love,
Father of love,
truth,
truth,
peace,
peace,
freedom,
freedom,
and justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my guide,
and my salvation,
and my salvation.
by night
By night
and by day,
and by day.
through his holy prophet,
Through his holy prophet,
Drew Ali.
Heru Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam, Moors.
Islam.
Praise Allah. Love you, boys.
Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah.